And the first on the first will be the fuel scarcity. Now, the NNPCL has admitted to owing suppliers $6 billion. $6 whole billion. You know what my issue is? Why do we deny the fact so many times? You know, these oil marketers have come out to say constantly that the reason for this scarcity is they're being owed the money for transportation, for supplying fuel, landed cost, and all of that. They've come out to say it many times. NNPCL comes out and debunks that news and says it's just a rumor. They're not owing that money, and only to finally now admit that they're owing NNPCL $6 billion. Now, they admitted that there's a financial strain that poses a threat to the sustainability of fuel supply. Now, in a statement on Sunday evening, that was about September 1st, the company acknowledged recent reports in national newspapers regarding its significant debt to petrol suppliers. Now, according to the reports, the debt, which had risen to about $6 billion, has seen suppliers reduce the volume given to the Nigerian National Oil Company. And the short in supply has led to 6 weeks long petrol scarcity across the country. And if you ask me, we have had the highest number of fuel scarcity in this year more than in ever.
Well, I think as of July, we had like the third, case of like fuel scarcity. But somehow one would even say that if you look closely, it's okay to say that we've had, more than 3 cases or, records of, fuel scarcity in Nigeria. And then NNPCL coming out to say that they're actually owing, $6 billion US. I mean, it's really laughable. One wouldn't really want to bother, as to what, brought about this huge debt for the NNPCL. But again, why can't we really fix our refineries and, be done with this issue of importing fuel into the country almost every now and then? And then there are so many questions really that comes to mind. Are we still subsidizing fuel? Yes or no? I think yes or no would help.
It's still a yes, no. It's still a yes, no kind of thing.
And no. Not even
it's a yes and no kind of thing.
But it's really complicated.
Really complicated.
I mean, people actually have lost confidence somehow, right? When the federal government comes out to tell you that, fuel subsidy has been removed. I mean, you remember what President Bola Tinubu did last year, May 29th last year, when he, got sworn into office. And then that statement alone, that declaration shook the entire country. And it looks like we're yet to recover from,
there's no going back.
The shock or the trauma that actually, brought to Nigeria. But here we are. But again, does it mean that we cannot do without fuel subsidy? I mean, subsidy itself, let's not put fuel aside. Subsidy itself, can't we do without it as a nation? You talk about electricity tariff hike the other time and all of that.
But the truth is, every country subsidizes something for its citizens. It's a normal practice.
But the cost implication is really, really outrageous.
That's because many times the checks and the balances that should be in place before that subsidy is removed or before subsidy is introduced is not done properly.
Okay.
Now, I always will say that this country will go when we drop aside politics of interest, of personal interest. Maybe I'm just there. I haven't even seen... Now, removing that subsidy, like I always will say, is not the problem, because that's like one of the most constant things in all the manifestos of the presidents or the presidential candidates who were coming out at that time. Everyone had that in their manifesto. We're going to take out subsidy. We're going to take out subsidy because obviously it has eaten deep into the Nigerian economic system and the the gas and the petroleum system in general, right? But the way it was removed was the problem, and it's still the problem.
How was it removed, Martha?
I
think I've heard this.
It was
over
abrupt.
And over.
See, you come somewhere that is new.
That has been decisive, if you ask me.
It's been decisive, but there are unintended consequences. And if you weigh out the consequence or the unintended consequences, there are intended. We all know that there might be intended consequence and unintended consequences. But if you just make that decision based on the intending consequence, which is to stabilize the country's economy, to stabilize or to float the naira, whatever, all of that, to curb inflation or whatever, did you think about the unintended consequence? We are seeing the economic hardship we are currently living in is the ripple effect of taking out the subsidy. Is it good? Is it good that we have to face it once and for all? Yes. what measures did you put in place to ensure that it doesn't become too hard for your citizens?
But before the removal of fuel subsidy, before President Tinubu made that declaration last year, May 29th, a number of Nigerians, I recall clearly, because I know I've had conversations, at different, times where Nigerians even had to say, if remove fuel subsidy product be available, we don't mind. I recall very
clearly. They didn't know it was going to get to 1,000. They didn't know it was going to get to 1,000.
He was so like particular about, in fact, he was literally reiterating his statements like over time, like even if we're going to buy a liter, at 1,000 naira, I don't mind, but let the product be available. But here we are. Now there is fuel scarcity, the queues are back, and people are already lamenting that the price per liter is definitely going to skyrocket, as well as, of course, the implication of, all of this whole NNPCL, controversy and all of that. But again, when you talk about being decisive, when you talk about being intentional about something, and then the willpower, which you always talk about on radio and TV, the political will and all of that, I think President Tinubu has been able to like show Nigerians that he has that political will to do things. Right. But then when you talk about the measures that were actually put in place to cushion the the hardship that would definitely come along with the removal of fuel subsidy, well, the president has been lambasted over time that he did not really have like a plan on ground, like it
was an abrupt decision.
I agreed it was abrupt, right? But then let's take a look at the era of the Naira redesign, policy. All of that. At some point, we're made to understand that the old notes will be phased out gradually. That is just to give Nigerians like a heads up, to brace up, right? But again, we're used to last minute preparation, last minute, and all of that.
They're going to block their SIM. They're going to block their SIM cards on 14th, and some people have still not done it.
I think it's like a tradition already. No pun intended, but I feel like this has been, the trajectory in Nigeria. We actually wait for the dying minute before we get things done. So even though, we actually like had an insight that fuel subsidy was going to remove during, the first few months of President Tinubu's administration, there's no way what could we have possibly done?
See, the truth is, I understand that the president has been trying, and if you see some of the policies that he's introducing is just to reduce the dependence of the entire country on the oil and gas sector, because our dependence on that sector is total, is absolute. That's why when that sector collapses, the entire system feels the effect of that collapse of that system. So he's been able to do that. We see some level of diversification where he's trying to introduce, talking about agriculture, people have to go back to the farms and all of those, ideas or initiatives that he's put in place. But the question here is, what are the measures you put in place? We talk about palliatives. I personally do not talk about palliatives anymore.
Why?
Because I feel like it's just basically maybe shadow boxing. We're just going round and round. We'll know the actual problem, but we'd rather just go round the problem than actually solve the problem. Because number one, we've had cases where the monies that are being allocated for palliatives are being siphoned, and no one has in-depth or total knowledge on how that money is being spent. Nobody's being arrested, nobody's being questioned. I feel like it's just given to the siphoners.
So who do you blame for that? Normally, for me, I'm sorry, I don't want Nigerians to come for me, because when you're having conversations like this, expected that you take
the side of the masses.
But I'm not trying to take sides in any way, but I'm just trying to be realistic. I feel Nigerians should be very intentional, just the way we are very intentional about lamenting, there's hardship and all of that. We should be very intentional in such a way that we can ask questions at the right time without, bringing in sentiment.
We bring in the sentiments first, and when it backfires, we now start asking the questions that we should have from the start. But anyways, that's one story we will be talking about for today. But maybe we should add one more, and then that would just kick-start the conversation for today. Yes, the End Bad Governance protesters were arraigned and remanded in prison on treason charges. And we've seen Amnesty International come out to say the penalty for treason is death. You cannot say people who came out to protest, because of the hardship that they're feeling, have committed treasonable offense, and you cannot say that for a fact, so you cannot put these people to go through the penalty of death and what have you. Now, according to them, they allege that the federal government has been using whatever means that it can to seize the right of peaceful protest of Nigerians. Now, they may not outrightly come out to say it. According to them, the government has not outrightly come out to say you cannot protest, but they have done things that implies indirectly that you should not protest. It is your right, but you must not do it. You know how they say freedom of speech is free, but it's not really free. That's how they say that. So that's maybe might be another situation right there. And the Amnesty International is not taking that at all from the federal government. But we still have that case going on. We might decide in the coming days, the fate of these people might be decided and would know what the government decides to do. But for now, we'll be opening up the phone lines so that you guys will get to let us know what you think on 090 87668888. You can also leave us a message on WhatsApp, call us up, or send us voice notes and text messages on 090-9705-4450. Welcome to the General Open Banters. But first, we have an economic obligation. Let's go and get that done first. And when we're done, we'll be back. Please stay put. We'll be right back.
Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. Here to stay.
Please listen to this announcement. Farex Borehole. We are competent. We are committed. We simplify borehole for your borehole survey, for your borehole drilling, or any of your borehole challenges. Call us on 080 3596 5170. 080 3596 5170. You can visit our office at Goshen Plaza, opposite Jabi Motor Park, Abuja.
Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. Here to stay.
All right, let's get right into the conversation. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, my dear sister Mata. I greet you and I greet your colleague. My name is Alami from Central area.
Thank you, Alami.
Yes, Mata, on Amnesty International comment on the declaration of a British citizen wanted.
Yeah.
Let me put a context to it. Amnesty International Country Director is Madam Obi Ezekwesili. The same person that said publicly severally that she would not stand up whenever Nigerian national anthem is being recited. The same woman that said that Obi is the president, that she does not represent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This context is very necessary so people would understand and not take Amnesty International serious. Throughout trajectory of every comment or reaction or position taking of Amnesty International, it has always been against the interest of Nigeria. It has always been supporting foreigners, foreign interests, against that of the Nigerian interest in the guise of patriotism. And some of us are too informed, we are too educated, we are too exposed, to allow a facade organization like Amnesty International being operated by some unpatriotic enemy that just cannot get over the loss of an election they have preferred candidate left, and they've decided to completely ridicule the institution called Nigeria. And I always say this. You can hate the president, you can hate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I can hate Peter Obi, I can hate Atiku, but when you are transferring that hatred on Nigeria as your country, we need to now, at that point, we need to slow down and check ourselves. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Alamin, for that contribution right there. Let's keep it coming through. 090-8766-8888. You can also leave us a message on WhatsApp on 090-9705-4450. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, Makamaka.
Hi, Salasi, good morning to you.
This lady get me. You get me this time around.
I will
How are
catch
you
you
doing?
anyhow. I'm very well, thank you, sir.
I greet your colleague over there. I want to start, but I want to comment. When the question was said, bring back our girls, people were clapping hands. They were saying, yes, yes, all is around again. Now, at that time, they didn't see the international collaboration with that. That one is, by the way. Now we are talking of the first scarcity. I think each and every one of us is feeling the heat. Even you guys, before you come out to work, you know the challenges you must have faced this time. And NFPC are owing $6 billion. We are talking of Saudi Aramco. As of last year, 2023, their profit was $121.3 billion. That is their gain. But our NFPC is running at loss, and they are paying their staff humongous amount of salary. So by the federal government, you can see the irony of all these things. We are talking of palliative. It's not like what your second was saying. Palliative is an avenue of stealing money. Do you remember the former minister of humanitarian? When they were feeding school children, even when there was total shutdown, even when they were paying fuel subsidy, even when there was total shutdown, in the absence of punishment or for the treason, look at what is happening. The bandits having their free way in the bush. You see them doing on TikTok, on Facebook. They are even dancing ungo on the bush, but they can't get them. The people that come out for peaceful protest, we are in the era of democracy, and the government should be very careful. Or else, what happened in Bangladesh, or what happened in Sri Lanka, or what happened in Kenya? Because when you are pushing people to the wall, by the time they offend the government, I'm telling you, the government will never know if they won't even have a way to run to. What is all this? They need terrorists, terrorizing people. They are talking of control of food price. Why people can't go to their farm anymore? Look at what happened in Yobe State. Look at what happened in Zamfara. Look at what is happening in Kaduna and Benue State. They are not talking of containing in this insecurity. Well, now they are charging these people that come out for protest. And this is the man that leads protest during Jonathan. When Jonathan increased weight, he said subsidy was wrong. He came and increased one price, and he's not even talking of that.
All right, Selassie. Thank you so much for that contribution. All right. Well, these are the issues, and you cannot exhaust talking about these things all the time, as many times as possible. This morning, I think it was this morning or yesterday, I did see a report that Dangote's refinery will roll out petrol, and we've had these promises many times.
Well, he's a businessman.
Yes.
You must understand.
Yes.
And even though the government has some percentage of stake in that empire, we must also understand that there are challenges that private business owners and the businesses encounter on a daily basis, especially for obvious reasons. We know, of course, that the naira has been going back and forth, up and down against the US dollar and all of that. So these are some of the factors that could actually hinder the anticipated success stories that most business owners would have loved to record, especially when they want to set up a business of that nature in Nigeria. And that's why some people will say that we don't really have that enabling environment for businesses and investors to even want to come and put in their money at the end of the day.
All right. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, Mata, and your amiable colleague.
Good morning.
Calling from Fogoleta.
Abubakar, it's good to have you.
Thank you. It's very unfortunate that somebody will come on here ridiculing an international organization, a humanitarian international organization, Amnesty International, who have been known for championing the cause of the oppressed globally. Across the globe, the prisoner of war, oppressed communities, and a lot of things concerning fundamental human rights of human race, entire human race. They are known for this. There is no way a United Nations session will take place without representation of Amnesty International by the sideline. So they should be ridiculed for political reasons. Coming to the issue of subsidy, there is no, in the wide world, every country of the world subsidize something. What made Obama administration tick was that during his time, they brought about Obamacare, a medical policy for the downtrodden America who cannot require aggressive measures. Hello?
I can barely hear you. There's a sound from your background that makes it pretty difficult to hear you.
I'm alone.
Okay.
I'm alone.
Okay.
Okay. Obamacare is that you know about that they take care of the needs of oppressed America. It's a subsidy, American subsidy. So in Nigeria, apart from the oil subsidies, they are not enjoying anything from government. Now this government came and abolished subsidies. They continue fuel increment, inflicting hardship on millions of more Nigerians. It is unfortunate. And NNPC, an organization that is operating always at loss. They are not declaring profit and they are accumulating debt. This is a paradox. A paradox. Organization of corporation that is not making profit, they are operating at loss, an oil producing corporation. It is uncalled for. And this is not a story. It will not last. You are charging innocent protesters against.
All right. It's so difficult to hear, Abubakar, so we might just let it go from here. But let's keep it coming through on 090-8766-8888. Now, this message says, good morning, Martha. This is James from Suleja. It says, as usual, fanboys will ignore the facts and realities while deflecting from acknowledging the realities. There's a very thin line between love for one's country and love for one's president. One is patriotism and the other is sycophancy. That is James from Suleja. Let's move on. Hello, good morning to you.
Princess, God bless you.
Oh, Sancho, where have you been?
They don't tell us plenty life. If you do university, you get student loan. Nothing for us, I tell you. We don't go back to school, whether they turn, whether they don't like us, whether they like us. We must be there. God is taking care of us.
All right, quickly, let's hear you. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Abuja. Now we do ourselves. Nobody do us. Now we do ourselves. Including Mr. President himself. Why? Because it was part of the agitation. Right from the former president of Banter since 1999, we were very young. Getting to the age that we are understanding when Obasanjo issue a local government, a new local government. Tinubu was kicked against it. Today is the president of this country by voting. Thank you, Mr. President, but you have not been doing so well with what Nigeria has voted you in. The issue of subsidy, you never call on anybody to come and sit down and say, okay, let's discuss what is that subsidy all about? What do we understand by subsidy as a leader? What is that subsidy? That subsidy as you have gone to Britain University and England University to study over there, that they said means of your certificate has not been there by some of your.
All right, make your points quickly, Obasanjo. We have very limited time. We have to head out now.
Then my point is this: what is the real subsidy, Mr. President? Where is that subsidy? If you don't understand the narrative, bring back that oil.
All right, I guess we've had that. Bring back the subsidy. I don't think it's a conversation that will be leaving the airwaves anytime soon because everybody wants the subsidy back. But yes, this one says on NNPCL admitting to owing all marketers to the tune of $6 billion. This revelation is an open secret for many like me that's been consistently questioning the reappointment of Mile Kyari. NNPCL just now has become a cancer and the foundation of every one of our problems, and the decision of the president Tinubu to reappoint a man who failed woefully on the same job for another 10 is confirmation that President Tinubu does not really care about transparency in the oil sector. This is alarming from Central area, and that's what he has to say about the fuel subsidy situation right here. Now, Omo Efe, The situation about the subsidy, like I told you, is not one that will be leaving this space anytime soon.
Right.
But are there measures that you think that can be put in place? Because at this point, I'm at loss for. The oil news is something I never report anymore. I don't like to report it anymore because the more you know, the more confused you get about some of the revelations right there.
The truth is, the president has over time, come out to, especially during, the nationwide broadcast, the series of nationwide broadcasts that he's had ever since he became president. He's assured Nigerians over time. He stressed the need for people to be patient.
Yeah.
Patience, right, is a virtue, they say.
Exactly.
And let's not forget in a hurry that this is a renewed hope, administration will actually operating or running on. And again, the policies, the measures that have been rolled out over time, rolling out CNG buses, all of that, just to make sure that Nigerians don't have to pay through their nostrils, to transport or move from one place to the other.
Yes.
The question now is the CNG buses. How many of them do we have on the roads, right? It's been one promise too many, and it's really very disturbing. We also talk about the fact that palliatives have been distributed over time. They didn't really get to the masses. They really get to the grassroots. I think that's a question that people should or have always asked. And then you saying that you're going to crash the prices of
That's
food stuff.
I saw a tweet.
How realistic is that?
How realistic
what
is
are
that?
the measures you have on ground, to actually achieve that? But I think at the end of the day, as much as the president actually wants Nigerians to give him time, he's always solicited for time. We need time. We need more time. Don't worry, Nigerians. You will smile again and all of that. People are hungry. I mean, that's the reality. And they say, a hungry man is an angry man, right? When exactly are people going to start, reaping the dividends of this, policy, these very harsh policies that you've, introduced?
Well,
it's over a year since he assumed office. I mean, one would say that it's too early to start,
too early,
lashing out on the president and all of that. But again, time is money. Time is very, very important. Some businesses have even, they've gone under because of this harsh economic, policies and all of that. People really, fingers are crossed. We are waiting. We are hoping.
All right.
To see the result that these policies would bring.
I would just borrow from what you said. Patience is a virtue, and we must exercise patience. And I don't know how long.
Are you a patient person, Martha? Let me ask you that.
No, the truth is, you can tell someone to be patient, right? You can ask me to be patient, and I honestly will, if I know how patient I have to be or how long I have to remain patient. When they say there's a light at the end of a tunnel, when you can see a glimpse of that light, when you can catch a glimpse of that light.
Is there really light at the end of a tunnel?
That's the truth. If there's really a light at the end of a tunnel, right? If I can catch a glimpse of that light, is what keeps me going towards the tunnel.
To give you hope.
It gives me hope that
believing.
There's actually a light at the end of the tunnel. But in an instance where I see nothing at the other end, regardless of what you say to me, I would refuse to believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Show us something. And I think that, Omo if it has a lot to say, but we have to hide out right now, and we'll keep up this conversation again in the second hour, because we see that protests have ensured on the streets of Abuja as regards in respect to the absence of fuel on the road or the scarcity of fuel on the road. So this conversation will most definitely continue. We cannot take any more calls, and we'll be heading out now. Please keep it locked in. We'll be right back.
Eagles 102.3 FM. Abuja, here to stay.